Hey guys, welcome to Movement Monday, last variations of the squats. Okay, so today we're going to go through the beloved barbell. A couple of variations. Basically today I'm just going to take you through the front, back and overhead squat. There's a million squat variations you can do from there, but those three will carry over to a lot of movements that you will do via any sort of power or Olympic lifting or strength-based training. Also, you know, if you're interested, you know, in the future we can start going over different variations from there. But the front, back, and overhead are three ones that if you can master those three, then generally you can pretty much squat in any form you can. Okay, so just to quickly recap what we've done already. Obviously, we've talked about the importance of the squats. You know, why you should be squatting as frequently as possible. Every session, if you can, do some form of squatting or some form of sort of leg dominant movement. You know, we're taking you from literally sitting down and standing up on a chair or a bench and moving you along now to doing more advanced, more sort of structured, intense movements. Okay, so the barbell is really good in the sense that you obviously can load it very heavy, so it's a great strength builder. It allows you to you know, get mechanically more advanced positions rather than trying to hold on to something like a kettlebell or a dumbbell, which can sometimes be restricted by the strength of your arms or shoulders or upper back. This, generally speaking, for the back squat for sure, you know, you can literally load it up, and it's really going to come down to, you know, how strong your core and legs are more than anything else. So this is why the barbell is just such a great builder of strength and power for the lower body and sort of core areas from there. Okay, so we'll go through the back squat first because generally that's the one that most people will generally start with. Whether it should be or not is really you know, up to question, but that's where we'll start anyway. Okay, so with the back squat, okay, whenever you squat with a barbell, you should always make sure that the bar is going to sit nicely on the top of the back. Okay, not on the neck, not too low down the back. Okay, you can do low bar squats, which is a powerlifting sort of technique, but we're going to just concentrate on regular high bar standard squats. Okay, so the way you're looking to do it when you're stepping up to the bar is you want that bar to be resting nicely along the traps, which is the muscle along the top of the back, you know, where in between your shoulder blades there should be a muscle there, and that's your trap muscle. Okay, so when you get into it, make sure your grip is roughly going to be around that shoulder width apart. Get under the bar, up on the back, step away from the cage. Okay, and from that position there, it should be nicely sat on the back. Okay, from that, you know, if you really wanted to, okay, you would put yourself a little bit forward. You can take your hand off the bar, and it should be able to sit nicely on those traps on the back. Okay, that's the idea of the back squat, is that it's sitting in that position. Once you're in that position, okay, get into your foot stance, okay, where you feel comfortable squatting down, keeping the chest upright. You're then squatting down nicely, under control, as deep down as you can, and then powering back out the hole at the top. Okay. Now, as I say, the back squat is good because it stabilises nicely on the back. You don't have to rely too much on, you know, keeping an upright position. In fact, with that, it allows you to get into that almost that bent forward position, but the goal is to try and keep the back up, keep the back arched, keep the chest up, and sit into that position from there. Okay. With the squats, if any squat variation, obviously you can start bringing in benches, you can bring in balls, and you can do sort of box squats and stuff like that. Now, I would normally recommend that for most people to do, especially if you train on your own, because it gives you that, you know, the depth indicator, so you know that you're getting to that depth. But you know, if you're working up to, you know, go to competitions and stuff like that, you might want to do some free squats as well as a practice, because you won't have that bench or that box there as that goal. But you know, generally speaking, for most people, you can box squat or squat to a box or squat to something, squat to a ball. And that will allow you to keep your depth range in and know that you're hitting that depth every single time. Okay, and it's not about falling into the box, it's just about controlling down, touching and going back into that position. Okay, so back squat nice and easy onto the back. Okay, the front squat, okay, it's a little bit more difficult for some, because mainly for wrist and sort of shoulder flexibility. Okay, because what you're trying to do is you're getting it into that rack position. Okay, normally when you're catching a clean, you know, one of the Olympic lifts, this front squat is the thing that you're going to catch it into. So you basically want to make sure that you're able to touch your shoulders with your hands into that position and get the elbows up into sort of a flare position from there. If you can't do that, if it's uncomfortable or you haven't got the wrist mobility or the forearm mobility or the elbows or whatever it may be, then you may find that actually a cross grip will work better, okay? So let me show you what they look like with the barbell, okay? So again, your right hand underneath, coming forward, okay? So let me spin this around without knocking anything over. So that's the sort of position you want to be into, okay? You want to be able to get the elbows up, you want it to be able to sit across the shoulder, okay? So it's not resting on the hands, it's actually on your shoulder, sitting on that frame across there, okay? But what you're trying to then do, obviously, is get your hands underneath so that you've got stabilisation there, okay? If you do go forward, obviously there's something that's stopping the bar rolling off and hitting the floor, okay? And then from there, you're again squatting down nice and solid. So the great thing about the front squat is it keeps you in that upright position, okay? You can't help but stay upright if you're pushing your elbows up as much as you can and controlling down into it. What naturally happens is the chest stays up. You sit in that natural position from there, the back arches nicely, and you get down nice and deep and forward in that position, okay? The cross, okay, works exactly the same. So you step into it, take it on board. Again, I'll just spin round. So you can see it from the front view, okay? And you're just using those hands, again, that stabilizers, still trying to keep it right against the shoulders, right against that neck point where the clavicle, where the muscles are, and then basically from there, you're then coming down, controlling in, and then back out, okay? Either grip works well. The most important thing is obviously to be comfortable as you can, as comfortable as you can, because obviously you want to make sure you can do the movement properly. If it's causing pain or problems, then obviously you might need to doctor it slightly from there. You can also use variation with straps. If you've really got no sort of elbow or shoulder flexibility at all, mobility from there, you can wrap straps around it, hold onto the straps, and it acts a bit more like a safety squat bar rather than just a barbell. So there's variations, as I said, from there, but that, you know, those two variations should cover most people from that. And then the goal of it always is to go as low as you can, as long as your hips are parallel to the knee, in line with the knee as you get into that bottom position, the crease of the hip, then, you know, that's deep enough. The goal is to work from there. So as I said, I actually prefer the front squat more than the back squat when I'm teaching people how to squat. You know, if they've never squatted before, and I'm working up from literally nothing to the squats, mainly because it keeps you in that upright position, and it just seems and feels much better squat from there. But it's limited in its squat variation, and it's limited in its carryover to other things. So, you know, it's not the greatest builder of strength in terms of any other squats, but it is on its own a great movement, okay? Now the final squat we're going to go through today with the barbell is arguably the most technical, but it's not the most technical in terms of being complicated, it's the most technical in terms of mobility. Most people will struggle with this movement, not because they can't do it, but because they haven't got the capacity yet, or the sort of the alignment in their nervous system to be able to do the squat properly in an overhead position, okay? So, generally speaking, when someone starts this, sorry, I didn't mean to turn around from the camera there, I was just trying to see if we had a PVC pipe or something up here, but we don't. The main thing that you've got to look into is, have you got the shoulder mobility to be able to perform it properly? So I'll use a band for the example. Now a band, we've got one. So we're all right. Okay, so when you're practicing this, if you ever want to start doing it, okay, and now, you know, if you want to do Olympic lifting or any form of sort of, you know, snatching at all, you should really be able to catch or squat in an overhead position, okay? So when you're practicing to this stage, this is something you should be able to do. So a band's a good one to start with, because the good thing about a band is no matter where you are, obviously, it allows you to stretch out the arms and get into the position anyway, okay? Because what you'll normally find the limiting factor is once you start going to a certain point overhead, you won't be able to go any further, but if you stretch out your arms a bit more, suddenly you get that range of motion and you're able to get it behind the head. Now, not to learn bad form, obviously you'll need to then move on to a PVC pipe or a broomstick and then the barbell, but it gives you that first indication of it. So with it, obviously you're holding the band overhead, okay, so it's going to hit the top of your head, and from that position there, you can then squat down and then stand back up in that position, okay? So as you can see, it really relies on you being able to hold a barbell overhead straight up and go from there. That's why it's technically, you know, a little bit more difficult. So what can hold you back? 9 times out of 10, it's going to be shoulder mobility. Okay, it's just going to be the point where how high can you raise your arms straight over your head before the sort of the lats and the pectoral muscles sort of restrict that movement and cause it from there. So most people, when they go into it, they'll raise their arms and then they'll get to about here before it starts becoming a trouble. You know, some people are quite lucky they're going overhead. Now when you overhead squat, obviously your grip can be a bit wider, so necessarily, you know, what you can do next to your head isn't necessarily what you can do, you know, a few meters away from it. Okay, so or centimeters, should I say, not meters. So you'll find that actually going for a wider grip stance is actually fine. And when you snatch, that's what you're going to be doing anyway. You're going to be going from a wider grip so that it sits in those hips and powers over the head anyway. So as long as you can get into that overhead position, that grip width is going to be good for you. Okay. And then from there, okay, as I say, with the broomstick or with the PVC pipe, you then practice again. But this time, you haven't got that flexibility of the pole, so your arms are staying in that locked position. And again, you can test and make sure that you can get into those positions okay. Always ask a qualified coach or someone who is proficient, at least in the movements, to sort of check your form, make sure that you're getting in those right positions. And if that's all good, then you can start going onto the barbell and actually loading it and trying to have a go at it again. So again, it's that movement, you know, then that consistency and then intensity from there, okay? So again, I'll just do it with a barbell. So again, you're going to a wider position from there, okay? You get the bar overhead, okay? And from that position, sitting down into it, controlling down, and then powering back out the hole again, okay? So that is the 3 barbell squats, okay? So back squat, front squat, overhead squat. What I would normally recommend to people is do the squat variation that you can do the best. So as I say, I started with the back squat because most people can back squat relatively okay. They might need technique for anything else, but if you've gone through the progressions that we've gone through, the wall squat, then the goblet squat, you know, once you get to this stage, you know, even if you've done the double kettlebell squat, for example, then you should find that the front squat will feel much better. But by then you should know that your depth and your technique and everything else, how it feels. So when you get to this stage, you'll be more proficient for it. But back squat, you know, practically everyone can do, unless you've got serious shoulder or wrist problems, and in which case you can't get the bar on the back comfortably enough. But most people should be able to do that. Then from there, the front squat, that, as I say, depending on mobility, that one is quite difficult, but can be done. And then your final one is the overhead squat, which obviously is the most difficult in terms of, you know, making sure you've got the mobility and everything from there. But I would practice them, I'd give them a go. It's always good to try new movements, and because you have that variation, you know, it gives you more in your toolbox to use as you're training, okay? I'm a proponent of the sort of conjugate style. I like variation in movement. I like, you know, slight tweaks, slight variations from there. So the more you can learn about each squat and the different variations of them, the more you have in your arsenal to sort of use to kind of build up your strength and build up your technique and sort of capacity in those movements, okay? So there you go, guys. That's all the squat videos from there. So body weight to obviously goblet and weighted ones, and then obviously finally to the sort of standard barbell stuff, okay? So in the future we may release other videos of box squatting and maybe some chain and stuff, chain work and all the rest of it, to show you different variations that you can start bringing into the program. But that should give you enough to begin and work from in terms of your techniques from there. So the main key points are keeping that chest upright position, okay? Making sure you've got the natural curvature of your spine, coming down into that position, making sure the crease of the hip is in line with the knees at the bottom position, okay? And making sure that your stance is correct. Now the stance obviously is that very first point, making sure that the width in which you squat is actually going to get you to your best depth and allow you to get into those positions properly, okay guys? So try those out. Any questions, let me know. We'll move on now to more ability stuff, and then again we'll go into other movements from there. But if there's anything you want me to go over in terms of exercises, in terms of progressions, regressions of certain movements, we can start doing that as well, okay guys? Just be awesome, have a great week, and I'll see you on Friday. Catch you later, guys.